Welcome to Dev3, the podcast where we interview the developers in Web3. Today I have with you Tate. Taytems.eth is a core contributor with ENS, and he recently published a post about the new ENS Web app. And of course, that excited me a ton. ENS has been just one of the cornerstones of Ethereum and DeFi for many years. So I was stoked to bring him on and chat about this. So Tate, thanks for coming on.
Yeah, it's good to be here. I'm really excited about this new launch and really excited to talk about the future of what ENS can do.
Heck yeah, and we're stoked to have you. So thanks for carving out the time. I know we've got a massive time difference. Over in the US and you're over in Australia. So we did make it work, even though I messed up the days. So thanks for making it happen.
Yeah, it's always got to work. I'm usually free anyway, besides actually working on things. I'm just kind of sitting here at my desk. So not
I'm
much
sure
of a
it's like
difference.
me. It's 60 hours a week, but it's also at all times you can pause when you want, that kind of thing, because
Yeah.
you're kind of mulling over these ideas. And the ideas that I wanted to chat about today were things that I think you wrote about in this Mirror post, which I can share right here, and we can kind of just jump right into it. You got this
Um,
new app coming out super fast, and I'll let you kind of take it from here as I scroll.
yeah, so we've got a new app coming out, and it's going to be a full replacement for the old app. So it's not like we're keeping the old app around for too long after we get out of the alpha and the beta of this new app. So, well, that's another thing. It's in alpha right now. So a lot of the features that you would expect from V2 if you've used it won't be there just yet. But the main things are really just improving the overall experience massively, from little things like making sure that the design is consistent and it makes sense, and it's across from page to page. You're not seeing any variance in what everything looks like, which tends to be a problem when you have an app and you're developing it over years and years and years, which we were for the previous app. And another big thing, well, a massive thing really, is having a almost native experience for mobile. So if you know about adding an app to your home screen from Safari in iOS or from any browser in Android, it's pretty much a native experience. We don't have push notifications just yet, but it's pretty close to that level. And of course, for obvious reasons, we're not really able to launch it on app stores for whatever guidelines they have around blockchain things. But yeah, so that's another massive thing.
So is that real quick? Is that kind of about the Apple royalties, I'm assuming, with 30% and how they kind of just across the board are unfriendly towards crypto?
Yeah, I think it's something to do with that. Like, I haven't seen any. We didn't really look too hard into it, but I haven't seen any other apps with like their full experience on a mobile app. Like, they'll have, you can view other things, or you can like look at certain aspects of it, but that's about it. I've never seen like a full functional app on the App Store for Web3 stuff, unfortunately.
Yeah, unfortunately for native developers, but for web developers like us, it actually gives us kind of a superpower because every application in Web3 is built with kind of the tech stack we're used to.
Yeah, yeah, very true.
I'd actually love to pull it up too as we're chatting about this. What's the URL other people can find this at?
It's alpha.ens.domains.
Here we go. That was like sub half second. That's the first time I've loaded it in this browser as well. So that's already just this crazy speed improvement, which is one of the things that got me really excited when I saw your announcement. And then it's just, I love the UI. It's kind of like the Uniswap V1 of just like the text box, and it does what you expect it to, and that gets people in it right away. So yeah, let's check
Yeah,
out.
that's a big improvement over what we were doing before. Now everything is there immediately, instead of you needing to click through a few pages and get there eventually. And you can see there the load times are almost instant for the data as well, which is really cool.
Yeah, let's chat about some of that instant speed. So it seems like you've rewritten everything from the ground up. There's a new JavaScript library. There's a new React component library. And is there a new GraphQL backend?
So
I thought I saw
we
GraphQL somewhere.
we use the graph
The graph.
for our data for the backend, essentially, besides the blockchain. And generally, we don't really have much control over that, but we did make some changes with how we interface with it. Um, so the main thing in terms of speed improvements was just focusing on removing all the bloat that we have and making sure nothing's included in the bundle twice and that sort of stuff. That was a massive part. I think we got it down, the bundle size down to like half what it was before, for an initial load. So that was a big part of when you go to the home screen, and I was massively pushing for it. Um, Another massive thing is the universal resolver, which is our brand new, freshly deployed resolver, which allows, if you don't know what a resolver is, just kind of ignore that word for now, but it essentially allows you to go through all the steps of getting a record for an ENS name or multiple records for an ENS name, but you're just making one call, or you're just doing one transaction to get there. And it works both ways. So if you've got an address and you want to get an ENS name from the address, you just call the function, and then it gives you the address. It gives you the name if there is one associated, and the other way around it works as well. So if you've got a name, you can get any record you want, but in one single function call. And what that means is when you get down to network requests and interfacing with Infura or Cloudflare or whatever you're using, there's a whole lot less of them. And so not only is that good for fast loading, it's also good for decreasing our spend per month on RPC. Um,
Yeah, I love that.
yeah.
And I'd love to ask about those exact improvements. So with those improvements you just mentioned, how are we going to be able to, as this exits alpha, goes to beta, and then mainstream, like taking over the site eventually, how can other developers plug into this, even if it's really not ready yet today, or if it is ready today too? That'd be cool to cover.
So with ENSJS, I suppose it is ready enough in most ways to be able to use, but I definitely wouldn't use it for production just yet.
Yeah.
It has quite a few missing features, but if you do want to use it and give it a try, you definitely can. There's nothing broken or anything. You can just use it straight out of the box. And if you read through it, you'll see just how much we've done to try and um, speed it up as much as possible. Like, this library is all about speed. So not only are we using the universal resolver, which is a big contributor, but we're also making sure that everything's batched together. And we also expose a batch function that you can use yourself, so you can get all these records in one. And we have a ton of different wrappers, so we can batch various things together when they don't seem like they should batch together, and stuff like that. It's pretty fun if you're me, but if you're anyone else, probably not the most fun thing to hear. But essentially, it it just makes it way faster, and you'll get a response within less than a second almost every time.
Yeah, well, I think it's definitely fun too. And this is for the developers in the space. This is for the engineers. So I think we all geek out on this idea of, I mean, when I saw these batching and how you can do batching so easily, that's something I still don't know how to do very effectively, even with a current stack. Like what I'm building over on Earnify, it's like I'm crashing through those API call limits you were just describing of when you're hitting RPC nodes like 10 times for maybe one piece of data.
Yeah.
So the fact that you've made batching and getting started, so 5 lines or whatever it is, that's pretty unbelievable. I also pulled up the network tab here just to show that, yeah, that the transferred kilobytes is puny. Like that's really impressive right there to be able to do that. This is an app that so far is read only. Is that correct?
Yeah. So essentially, what we decided to do was focus on the read only functionality first, and just give people a way that they can view everything, because it's all that's kind of what it's mainly about, is like that experience of viewing a profile and seeing someone's identity associated with their ENS name. And so we just wanted to get that out in the best way that we could, because for us, we think that's the future of ENS, and we want to see other people using it. We want to get other feedback on how we should improve it. And we didn't really want to sort of be hidden away for too long, because if we did that, we'd run into a million bugs once we came to launch eventually. And that's not that fun if you've got 4 front end developers. It's a lot easier if you've got a team of 100 plus. But for us, the longer that we are open source, the easier it is to just stay on track and on top of everything. So that was a big part of just launching read only. Yeah, we really wanted to make sure that we had something out there for people to use.
Okay. And yeah, so if folks are using this and they want to help improve it, maybe whether they're developers or not developers, what are those 2 different options? Maybe let's say I found a bug, or I want to see what the roadmap is. Maybe those are probably 2 different questions. But is there like a bug reporting method?
So if you found a bug, you can go to the GitHub repo, which is github.com/ensdomains/ENS v3. If you go to the GitHub, you'll probably be able to find it. It's with dashes.
Got it. Dash app dash v3.
Yep. So if you go to issues there, you can create an issue. The flow is not that easy at the moment, because we don't really expect that many people will be finding it and using it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of more, if you have an issue, it'd probably be easier to just hop on the Discord or get on Twitter, DM me or the ENS account or anything like that. Then we can get that issue or bug processed a lot more quickly. And
okay. And that's what folks would normally expect too from alpha as opposed to beta. So then I'm curious from you, when could that time be more ready? I mean, in the Ethereum ecosystem, we usually are allergic to deadlines. But is there kind of an estimated roadmap, I guess, of how this goes beta and then replacing the site?
So we do have an internal roadmap, but I don't really want to be sharing the dates because, there's a whole array of things that could definitely go wrong, as I'm sure you all know.
With software, that can happen.
Yeah. So we don't really want to be sharing the dates, but if you look on the blog post for the alpha launch, we do have an approximate timeline of what features are going to be rolling out first, and just sort of the order of which we're developing things. And that's, even though there's not a timeline attached, that's sort of the best way to judge when things will be more ready. I would say potentially in the next few months, we will be getting towards launch level. I'm not quite sure when we'll make the jump from alpha to beta, but yeah, I can't really give a solid estimate.
Every good deadline has no deadline. Like with the merge for Ethereum 2, like beacon chain stuff. Yeah. So that actually excites me more, because it means that it's going to be so impressive that you don't want to tie down a certain deadline, because you want to make sure that it is both impressive and works smoothly.
Yeah. And another thing is we're also actually just going to be updating the alpha site and then beta pretty much in sync with what we're actually developing. So you will be able to see the features as we launch them. We're not just going to launch them in blocks. You'll be able to, we'll probably make a small announcement about when we're adding a big feature, and then you'll be able to use it almost straight away. So I think that's really important for us, is that we want to stay relatively in sync between the community and what we're actually developing.
Amazing. Is that going to be published on the official ENS Twitter, or is there kind of a separate place folks should kind of tune in if they want to be this early adopter kind of feedback mechanism?
It would probably be on the ENS Twitter. I can't say for certain, but because we don't really have an exact plan of how we would announce a new feature. But you can stay tuned to the ENS Twitter, my Twitter. It'll be on one of those.
Yeah, I think
So
your
yeah.
Twitter is going to be 100% chance because this is what you're fully dedicated to it from what I've seen.
Yeah, yeah. This has kind of been my life for the past 6 months. So yeah.
Amazing. Yeah, and I feel like it was like a launch out of the dark. I'm pretty active in the community on the web front end side, and I didn't know this was coming. The fact that all these features, to me, I haven't found even a bug yet on just how quickly these resolve, and the fact that, just like really nice features already, like you knew that that was the last thing I searched just now in this text box. Even that is like a little bit of polish that a brand new or like a hackathon level application would never have built out yet.
Yeah, well, it's definitely not a hackathon level
Yeah, it's way
app.
past that.
Like it's we're calling it alpha not because we expect there to be too many bugs, but because one, I have no faith that there will be no bugs, and two, just because the features aren't actually there. But in theory, the amount of bugs that you're actually running into on day to day shouldn't really be that high, and we do have we're coming up to a solid testing pipeline now, so hopefully we catch everything ourselves. In theory, that's what a test pipeline should do, but there will be certain situations where it doesn't. And yeah, so I think it's just the polish has come out of being on this for so long, and the fact that it's an alpha doesn't quite mean that it's not going to have the polish that you would expect from a big Web3 app. We definitely still wanted to show that we like had that there, so people wouldn't be afraid to use it. Because if you run into so many bugs, it's like, oh, I don't really want to use this, because it's just cumbersome. It's not really easy to use, and the whole point of this site is ease of use. So yeah, it would be a bit counterintuitive.
Yeah, don't launch so early that it's useless, especially when you have the name of ENS. Like people do pay attention to ENS. ENS is a really professional and long-lasting brand in the space, which I think leads me to the next big question, which is this whole idea of a profile and that this is the default page I land on when I search Vitalik. That's super interesting to me because this is not the ENS that we all knew. This is bringing in now more media, and in addition, you're linking in some of this other information I may not have known, like Vitalik's website. That's the .ca folks don't always identify, but that's like his .com. That's his main URL, and then some addresses here, some extra avatar, I guess. So, what kind of is this goal with this different presentation we're now seeing?
So the main goal is to transition ENS from being the domain name service on Ethereum to being an Ethereum identity, or not even an Ethereum identity, but just a blockchain identity, because you can store any almost any address you want on your ENS profile. And we're transitioning away from ENS names as a concept, which we will still have. It'll still be behind your profile, but we want profiles to be the main thing coming into the future. And we want people to really see that use case, because at the moment, it's kind of hard to see where that the use in getting text records set or address records set really lies. But as this becomes more and more popular, it'll be like almost like an Etherscan type of thing, where you just like search a name and you get the info you want straight away, and you get all that information around that identity. Doesn't necessarily have to be linked to a person, because there's plenty of anonymous things, plenty of companies out there, but you get all that information in one place, and it's decentralized, which I think is pretty cool.
Yeah, I think that's very cool. I'd love to show a more in-depth example. Is there perhaps an ENS name that is more fully featured than Vitalik's you want me to search or show?
Maybe mine, Taytems.eth.
Yeah. Again, that was the first time I searched it, and all the data just came up within a second.
Yeah. So you can see in the top profile snippet there, we give you some additional fields, some additional records are shown there. So we've got the name record, description, and URL, and so you can sort of more clearly see here what we're going for with kind of a social profile and sort of gathering that data together. We'll be adding more things to that over time, and we'll add a banner as well, which I think would be pretty cool. We just haven't quite worked out the technicalities of it yet. We still want to have a specification so anyone can use these banners, just like with avatars. But once we get there, that blue gradient will be able to be replaced with your banner, which would be pretty cool. And yeah, so it just kind of all adds up into this brand new experience.
Excellent. Yeah, and with this experience now, it seems like this is going to be more of a landing place for social things. But of course, ENS is kind of the at the infrastructure layer. It's like one of the core base applications. Is the idea that folks will plug into this, or that protocols might build on top of these profiles?
Yes, for sure. So we want to have a good starting point for where a profile should be and what it should look like, but we absolutely would love for anyone to come and build on top of this and build on ENS like plenty of applications are already doing, and show us what the use case that they see is within ENS and what they want to do with it. And there's plenty of them out there. And we do also have some integrations which will go with this quite well coming in the near future, which will be pretty cool. And it's not just about these profiles for this new version. It's also about making it less, it's still the infrastructure level, obviously, but we're seeing that a little bit separately in terms of that's the contracts. Like you can directly interface with the contracts if you want to. You can do whatever you want pretty much, as you can with any contract on Ethereum. But we want to make the experience in version 3 less of this advanced user sort of I know what I'm doing experience and more of just open it up and you can see what you need to do. You can see how you need to do it, and everything is clear. And so we hope that that makes it so much better and so much easier for anyone to get into this ecosystem. And it's especially important because for a lot of people, registering an ENS name is one of the first things that they might do. Like they see .eth on Twitter, and then they're like, "Oh, I should register one of these," and that's like the first thing that they do. So they should be able to have a sufficient amount of information that they can know what to do without needing to come into the Discord and ask or Twitter, because with any Web 2 experience, any Web 2 app, that doesn't tend to happen. If you're on Google, you kind of just know what to do most of the time, or on Facebook, it's pretty clear. So we kind of want to make things much easier, and we think there are a few applications out there who are doing this, but there's definitely a strong lack of going from an advanced user experience to an everyday user experience, and that's one of the main blockers, I think, for like better adoption of Web3.
Yeah, I love that. We definitely need all these tools to be easy to plug in and use. And what I'm seeing so far on this is you've nailed that. So I actually had a question from a power user in that I was supposed to be asking you. I'm curious if you have plans on this, which is this is a power user of the current ENS application. So that's ENS V2. They like setting their profile photo from their NFT. And I guess at the moment, it's a pretty manual process. So what's that going to be like on this application? And how are you enabling that type of connection to be easier or faster for folks?
So we're going to completely revamp that experience. It is on the to-do list, and it's one of the first things on the to-do list. Like you should see that coming relatively soon, in theory. Don't hold me to that, but we want to make it not like the current experience that it is, which is literally manually typing in a string. That is way further than any user would be willing to go. And only relatively recently did we actually add any sort of real validation for it. So previously it was like you type in the string, you don't even know if it works, and you just hope that it does. But it is slightly better now, but it's definitely nowhere near the state that we want it to be. So we're going to be fully revamping it. You're going to be able to easily select any NFT that is compatible. Some NFTs don't quite work with the way that NFT images are fetched, because they have a unique way of getting the photo for them. But most NFTs, it works fine. And we'll also be adding a way for you to just upload an image very easily without needing to go through an external service. So that should be good as well.
Interesting. So that's actually a different experience than what's currently existing with, you can have off-chain images. It sounds like one day.
So you already can.
You already can, okay. Maybe I've already done that too.
But you need to upload the image yourself and host it yourself. We don't do any of that currently, but we will look towards doing that in the future. Currently, it looks like we'll be going with IPFS for hosting those, and as long as we're setting a limit on the resolution, it shouldn't even be much of an expense at all, which would be good. It means that we can just sort of let everyone upload their avatar very easily, and that's a massive thing, because that is one of the most important things for an ENS name is getting the ability to associate an avatar with your address and with your name. And a lot of people like doing that, and you get it to show up on any app that supports ENS, which is quite a lot at this point. There's like, I think over there are over 1,000. I don't know. There's a lot of apps that support ENS, and many of those support avatars as well. So we want to make sure that everyone can set it with ease, and it's not like I need to read through this blog post and another tutorial to try and figure out what I'm doing here.
Yeah, here we are on the current site, which I think there's actually a section here that includes those apps you're just mentioning.
Yeah.
Over 1,000. I mean, this is an abbreviated list, and yet look how long this one is.
Yeah, there's quite a few.
I can imagine this is a small portion, because every single hackathon, there's an additional 50 that come on, or that could come on to here.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay, amazing. So is this, so what I'm actually showing right here is the current ENS.domains. And I remember that part of this content down here came out, I think it was 6 months ago. So was that the launch of ENS V2, or is some of this going to be kept?
I think that's just sort of been general life updates to V2. What you're looking at isn't really V2. It's not really classified as V2, but it's kind of part of it, because it's a little bit confusing in the way that it works, and that ENS.domains itself is a separate site. App.ens.domains, that's its own thing as well. So
this is like the marketing site.
Yeah, this is just the site for marketing and to show the core team and the info around that. So that kind of gets updated on its own, but we also, when we launch V3 fully, we will probably update that as well to match the design up.
Understood. Got it. And that's a pretty normal thing to see, a separate marketing site. I should have guessed that.
Yeah.
Because you called this the website, you'd call the application the web app or the
Yeah.
dApp. And so this then links to the V2 dApp. It sounds like for a little bit, it'll link to the V3 dApp, and then eventually maybe this will change as well. But I'd love to jump back to the blog post that you helped write here and ask, is there any, I guess we could either describe these and go into the speed a bit more, or just, are there features here that I've missed? Is there anything that we haven't yet talked about?
We haven't talked about Thorin yet, which is the design system or the component library.
Yeah, let's check that out.
So this is brand new as well, like everything else. And it's forked from dgen, from Mirror. So if you notice some similarities with Mirror occasionally, that's probably why. And we've just sort of taken our vision of what we think the future of Web3 aesthetics are, and apply them to a component library. And this is for anyone to use. And we want everyone to use this. Like, if you want to use this, if you think it looks good, please feel free to use it. This is probably the most polished library out of everything that we're releasing from that post. So we really think that it's almost at that state that you can just kind of use it in production. Like, we don't really think that there would be that many problems with it.
Amazing. Yeah, to see something already ready for production or close to is surprising, as mentioned before. So then, obviously, so this is a React component library for folks that aren't familiar. That's a front-end JavaScript framework for making web applications. Like 90% of Ethereum and Web3 sites use React. It's a reactive way to have a snappy UI that updates well and has dynamic data. And of course, these applications we use for Web3, they're all dynamic. From the very first login, when you authorize MetaMask or you authorize your wallet, you're hydrating a bunch of dynamic data. You're showing, as we saw on the profile, all of these different areas are all dynamically filled, which I'm guessing this is fully built with Thorin. Is that correct?
Yeah, it is.
Interesting. Okay, so if folks were to come, or who's the target user today to try Thorin at least? What would they be doing as well with it? Like, which components would you recommend first?
So the people that we really want to use it are anyone that's developing an ENS ecosystem product. So that could be anything from like ENS tools to like an avatar picker or something. We want to make sure or try to have a more unified experience if you're doing something in ENS. And if you're jumping from our main site, which looks a certain way and, will have every feature you would usually use, there are some edge cases, some cases of power users and stuff like that where they want to have a different experience. They want to do something unique. And we want to make sure all those apps are covered by our design if they want to. Obviously, they don't need to do that for any reason. But then if you're jumping from the app to a different one, you get that same experience, you get that same look, and you know and expect everything to work in almost the same way, which is why we really want ecosystem developers to use it. But anyone else is also free to use it. In terms of components as well, I don't think there's any in particular that are very special. There's just a couple that we added some cool animations to, which maybe if you're an animations person, you might want to try those out, like the drop down, which I spent a little bit of time on. Yeah, so that's the component library. I think it looks pretty nice, and you can just kind of drop it in to any app and just start using the components.
Yeah, I see that little bounce right there. Is this the drop down you're mentioning?
Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah, it's the little things that add up. These things just work out of the box, it sounds like, now that you've put it in the library, and so folks can build with it without having to reinvent that wheel.
Yeah, indeed.
Amazing. So yeah, we've gone into Thorn, we've gone into ENS V3. Looks like we discussed the new profiles. I think the things that I'm most excited about as we start to wrap up is definitely the speed and accessibility. The fact that folks around the world are going to be able to access this better. These graphs really make a big difference for folks in emerging markets. And so I think those are the areas I'm super excited about and why I was on fire to chat with you. But I'd love to leave it with you and kind of do one or two last passes back and forth. What are the things you're most excited about coming out soon here in this section down here, future releases?
So as I was saying before, one of the most exciting things I think is being able to upload an avatar straight to the site or pick an NFT very easily. That is quite far down the list, but we might bump that one up just because it is such a requested feature. People want that to be easy. And there is a lot of people who will go into the Discord and put in all the effort to find out how to set their avatar because it's not at all clear. And so hopefully once we release that, there's just going to be a lot more people doing it. And I think that's really exciting to have avatars on a lot more names than we have now, because right now there's only avatars on quite a small subset of every name because it's just really confusing and hard to do. But that's really exciting. The other thing I'm really excited about is the registration with the new controller contract and name wrapper support. It may seem a little bit bland in terms of like what it does, but under the hood, it's normalizing every ENS name. So it means that if you've got a subname, if you've got x.test.eth, that's going to be the same NFT as test.eth. Or if you've got a DNS name, if you've got something.com, it's going to be the same. It's all going to be normalized to one NFT type. So no matter what you're doing, you can expect the same functions and the same functionality. Along with that, it also means that you will be able to create a registration system just like with .eth names on any subname, which is, I don't think has actually been announced, so that might be a new thing. But Jeff has been working on that one for a little while now, and we're submitting the audit for that soon. So hopefully that comes out clean. Hopefully there's nothing too glaring in terms of issues, and then you'll be able to see that support soon. So it's like this really major update in the way ENS names work. If you look deeper into what an ENS name is and how it works currently, you'll sort of understand where my excitement is coming from. At base level, it doesn't seem like that much, but it is a very big step, and it's been worked on for quite a while now, like a year and a half, maybe 2 years. So yeah.
Okay. Yeah, and I can summarize for folks real quick that in the little that I have looked into the underlyings of ENS, it's not basic the way that you'd expect. And that's actually a good thing. That's engineered in a way that's you can build upon it. But it's not just a key value store of one to the other directly. Folks might think that, it's DOS.eth and then the Ethereum address, and that's it. But it's way cooler than that because it's built out in a way where you can add on. You have these subdomains now. You can have .coms. You can have your actual DNS names. And then there's this whole step of normalizing and name hashing and those parts that, I still barely can put together. So I'm happy that there's folks like you that have understood all of that and then made the front ends easy for us. So
Yeah.
thanks for coming on today. And I'd love to leave it with that. So thank you for the time, Tate.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Awesome. See you around.
See ya.